The Valley Phoenix Suns podcast, take one.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Valley of Phoenix Suns podcast. I am Ethan Shutt, recording from my kitchen, joined, as always, by Philip Russell and Ryan Shutt. Gentlemen, how are we doing coming off a very unexciting All-Star weekend? How are we doing today?
Feeling good. My 2-0 projection leading up to the All-Star break was yet again correct. Chris Paul set, officially in first place all time for All-Star game assists. It's a good week to be a Suns fan for sure.
I honestly feel so about everything you said. I appreciate the optimism though, but that record's going to be gone next year because LeBron's.
Who cares? Enjoy it while he's a Sun,
And then on top of that, no offense to Chris Paul, I'm glad that he got to play. I'm glad that he got his record, whatever. I was really bummed that Book didn't get a play because out of the two, the play style of Booker, I definitely think would have been a little more exciting in an all-star game. And then on top of that, would have liked to see him go against Curry in the three-point shooting contest, see if he could get another win. He's young enough that he's got a chance to actually end up with a record there. I think there's a lot of two-time winners. Are there? I don't know if there's any three-time winners. That would have been a good thing to look up. But Philip, All-Star game, anything jump out to you? Anything worth noting other than the dunk contest makes no sense and the points don't matter?
No, but I bought a house and I'm about to spring something, guys, in celebration of me buying a house. So in thinking about buying a house, I have been thinking about the roommates that I've had in my past. Obviously, my wife ranks number one. Shouts out to my wife.
Good call.
But what I want to know from you guys and listeners, there was no prep. There was absolutely no prep for this. Which Phoenix Suns player, current Phoenix Suns player, would you most want as your roommate?
Ooh. My first reaction.
Well,
the thing is, I can tell you already that the ones that hop in my mind are incredibly silly, but I know Javon Carter has a really cute dog. I know Mikhail has a really cute dog, and Book has a really cute dog.
Okay.
And all of them also don't have significant.
There is
houses.
one right answer. Devin Booker, Kendall Jenner. That is the only right answer.
Ew, gross. You don't get them both.
If you're rooming with Devin Booker, she's going to be over there. It'd be cool to be like, yo, I'm cool with Kendall Jenner.
Yes, and you think Kendall Jenner would be cool with you.
That's my only shot.
All right, well, I'll be honest. Booker came to mind only because I think I remember a piece on him and Ulyss living together when they both went to Phoenix. I know he likes playing ping pong. I'm a bit of a ping pong man myself. And again, the dog. But I think in terms of general personality fit, I don't know. Philip, do you already have one of these lined up?
Oh, yeah, it's Chris Paul because he's mad rich.
That's fair. Fair.
I'm sorry. I thought they were moving into our current living situations, not the other way around.
It doesn't matter. Chris Paul can buy my house.
He honestly, he probably played 5 minutes in the All-Star game and that money could have bought all of our houses or something like that. True. Oh man, for some reason, I think I'm going to go with the double pick and go with Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges because apparently they're BFFs. The Ringer article talked about how adorable they are, how they work out together and hang out together. And Mikal gets his Chipotle probably every night. I think I could fit in. And in terms of the age, this is so weird. It's always weird to me when you try to actually realize that they're real people, with ages and things. But I'm pretty sure I'm about the same age as both of them because Cam came out at 23 in the draft. So he's probably 24. Mikhail's probably right around there. So we could hit it off as long as they're cool, with me having a wife. Here,
if friendship with Kendall is off the table, I'm taking Frank Kaminsky.
Now, see, that's a party answer. I think that's a fun answer.
I'm taking Frank Kaminsky. I'm going to wear DeAndre Ayton's chain, and we're going to have a good time.
I could tell that Frank wouldn't take himself too seriously, and I think that'd be good versus a player who's like, hey, man, you want to go to B-Dubs and get some wings? No, I got to watch film. You think Frank is saying that? Not a chance. Frank is like, yes, do you think we can eat 35 wings? And the answer for him would probably be absolutely. That's a good one, man. Although if we're talking like coaching staff too, I do think I'd want to be Monty's kid. like live with Monty as his child, I think that would just be a precious experience.
Just imagine having Monty at home after you have a bad day. You come home and he just gives you a pep talk talking about God and how God can pick you up and how he's going to be there for you too. It just feels good, man.
I love Monty. That's a great question. Philip, congratulations on the house.
Thank you.
Bigger news, obviously, the fact that you're selling your current one, which is even harder than buying a new one. So congrats on that. But yeah, All-Star Weekend has come and gone. Really nothing too crazy. The week leading up to All-Star Weekend, though, is I guess where we can pick up from our last episode. We were talking about the Lakers game and the Warriors game, 2 games that the Suns, in my opinion, really needed to win. And in a very weird turn of events, I mean, that did happen. But going into it, I kind of was like, all right, these are big statement wins. You go out, take care of business. You ride that high into the All-Star break. And instead we have the Lakers game on TNT that involves the Booker ejection. That was absolutely stupid. On top of that, goodness, Kuzma was out. Gasol was out.
Anthony
AD
Davis
obviously was out. So even going into that game, it was a weird one. I would say the only real big point of note for me is in the minutes after Book got ejected, the Suns still won. If you really kind of just hit the reset button, it's still good to know that without Booker, this team can still kind of will itself to a win when they need it. And then if you thought that was disappointing, you go to the Warriors game where they announced that anyone who's played more than 100 NBA minutes basically was taking a break. And so it was basically the Suns against the Warriors B and C team. But hey, man, you take your wins where you get them. So the Suns are going into the All-Star break with the second best record in the West and the second best record in the NBA. If I would have told anyone that going into this season, you would have said I was crazy. And then on top of that, if I would have told you the number 1 team was the Jazz, you probably would have thought I was even crazier, maybe. I don't know. The fact that it's the Jazz and the Suns 1 and 2, it's kind of crazy, right? I mean, especially when you see 2 teams who are playing a very similar style. I don't know. What's weirder
is there were several power ratings that have come out in the last 24 to 48 hours, and a lot of them have us above the Jazz, which if I'm the Jazz is kind of disrespectful because I don't know how you put us above the Jazz right now. Even in my personal power rankings, I don't have us above the Jazz. But most of the power rankings had us at 2 with the Jazz at 3, which was kind of wild to me. But who knows how the season plays out. Again, we talked about it last time. The last month and a half of the season going into the playoffs is going to be brutal for us. So who knows if we're still riding high at 2 going into the playoffs. But enjoy it while we can, for sure.
I will say, for those that are listening, I will take our obligatory pause to say, if you're listening, thank you. If you're listening on one of the podcast stations, feel free to give us a follow there. Hop in the comments if you want to. Those that are watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe. Again, hop in the comments. We've had a few good comments or tweets come our way that gave us great ideas on what to talk about. So we appreciate it. But I was going to say on Twitter, one of my new favorite things that the Suns, it's not a Suns thing, but we're involved, is from Kirk Goldsberry. I don't know if you all have seen this or not. It is at Kirk Goldsberry on Twitter. He's an NBA analyst at ESPN, and he has been doing what he calls his efficiency landscape. And for those on YouTube, I'll give you a little glimpse of what that looks like if that wants to focus, which it might. Yeah, there you go. Kind of. And basically, it's a 4-quadrant graph that are breaking down teams but based on their offensive net rating and their defensive net rating and kind of see where everyone falls. And he's been doing a all-year one where it's basically the whole season in review, but he's also been doing constant updates where it's like last 15 games. So you can kind of see what teams are hot. But right now, going into the All-Star break, right now the Jazz have a net rating of number 1 in the NBA, number 4 offense, and number 4 defense, which is just, I mean, goodness, that's so impressive. And then the Suns, in terms of like, in my opinion, best all-around team, are right there, at least very close. Number 3 net rating overall, number 8 offense, number 3 defense, which I don't know how long you guys have been watching Suns basketball, those that are listening, but I could never have imagined the Suns team having the number 3 defense in the NBA. And then you have the 2, what I would call powerhouses in one direction, which would be the Lakers, who are number 6 and have the number 1 defense, which that's stinking impressive, and the number 17 offense. So they kind of offset there. And then on the other end of things, we have the Clippers, we have the Nuggets, and we have the Bucks that all have incredibly good offenses and what I would call good defenses. So it's good to see the Suns, in my opinion, right where you want to be, which is not we make our money in one area and we're weak somewhere else. It's no, we're top 10 in both. We're getting close to be top 5 in both. Like the team seems to really be balanced, which is a huge testament, in my opinion, to Monty and also James Jones and kind of what they're doing. But I mean, what are your all's thoughts just in terms of quick look? You know, we're about halfway through the year. In terms of finishing, do you think there's any chance we could stay in the top 2 in the West, or do you think we'll probably settle back down in the 3, 4, 5 range, I would say?
I think 4 is still the safe bet. I think I've said that for a few weeks now. To me, that just seems like the most comfortable spot for us to land. It also gives us that potential 4-5 matchup. Some of it will be determined by how well the Lakers perform once Anthony Davis returns. If he comes back at 100%, I think they're going to be a top 3 finish. And I think that the Clippers are going to be a top 3 finish. And I think we'll be right there behind probably the Clippers at the 3, and we'll be at 4. It'd be my guess.
What are you thinking, Philip?
If everybody stays healthy, it seems like it'd be a coin flip between probably 2 through 4 at some point. So I would say if you're in that range, you're happy. And I would even still say, because it's so early in the season, only halfway through, giving yourself some time for a few games skid, stay out of the play-in. Worst case scenario, then 6. Best case scenario, I think, is 2.
Yeah, I think with, and again, we don't know how protocols are going to change moving forward when it comes to fans and stuff like that. I still think the goal is 1 through 4, just in terms of having home court for at least 1 round. I think that'd be big. I'd say right now, if I had to put my money on kind of what could happen, I think the Lakers are going to get it figured out. I think there'll be 1 or 2. Right now, my coin flip is, do the Jazz kind of fall back to earth a little bit, or do the Clippers figure out that they are a superior team in the West? And so I could see either of those kind of moving up and down accordingly. But again, I mean, I think if worst case scenario, when we're being like logical and thinking through this, is 4, even 5, because that I mean, you're playing the same team, you know, that's still a great spot to be. So honestly, I don't think the Suns front office could have imagined things going this well, this fast. And with that said, we've talked so much about the depth of this team. And so we're going to talk just a little bit as we're at kind of the midseason point here, looking at the Suns team and how they've performed through the first half of the year. And we're going to give out very unimportant to them, but very important to us, midseason awards. And I want to start with one that I'm guessing, I think all of these, there's probably 2 or 3 people to pick from, but certainly with the MVP of the Suns so far, looking at how we've gotten to where we're at. Philip, I'll start with you. Who has been your Suns MVP for the first half of the season?
Jalen Smith.
Sticks, baby.
You're the worst.
No, I'm playing. I would probably go with Chris Paul, and it's obviously going to be a coin flip between Chris Paul and Devin Booker, which is actually the opposite of what I said for All-Star. For All-Star, I thought D-Book would get in over Chris Paul. But when I was looking at this, I was really looking at the stretch since February 1st. So that 17-game stretch where the Suns went 14-3 and just kind of crunching some of the numbers. And the thing that's really encouraging from Chris is that he didn't necessarily score that much in that stretch or have these like out of body experience. I mean, he was averaging 16 points a game, which is fine, shooting efficiently, but his net rating was just a little bit better. And if you're looking at the grand scheme, markedly better than Booker's. So he was like 2.3 points better in the net rating. So that means the offense is a little bit better. The defense is a little bit better on average when he's on the court. So because of that, Chris is going to get the MVP for me.
Ryan, what are you thinking?
I think Chris Paul is my answer as well. But just so that I don't have, just a reiteration of Philip, another person I would say has been the most important player when he's at his best has been DeAndre Ayton. As much as I like to hate on him, when he is playing at the max of his abilities currently, we are just such a significantly better team. So on the nights that we have that 14 and 13 Ayton show up, who is engaged and locked in both offensively and defensively, he becomes the most valuable piece on the court because he takes us to that next level.
No, yeah, I think it's a good answer. I was going back and forth when I was thinking through this. Funny enough, I was going between Chris Paul and Mikal Bridges. And it's not a shot at Booker by any means. I mean, he has played his butt off. I mean, getting player of the month is an incredible thing. But I'm just looking at from the very beginning till now, I think Chris has been the steady presence. And that's why I would go with him as the MVP. I think nights where he's not shooting, he's playing great defense and he's facilitating. And going back to his shooting splits, I mean, he's having career years in terms of scoring efficiency, and that's huge because those games where he doesn't score a lot of the times he's scoring when he needs to. So come to the end of the game, it's not like he's 1 of 9, 1 of 11 a lot. Sometimes he's 2 of 3. Like he attacks when he needs to. He knows, I mean, there's a reason he is, a Hall of Fame point guard. He knows when to go into that next mode, but a lot of times that's not needed. But he's just been that steady hand the entire time, in my opinion. We wouldn't be where we are without him, but Mikal really has impressed me this year in terms of not just offensively, the big step up he's taken, which I'll talk about more later. But when you look at those first couple weeks where we kind of hit that rough patch, we were, 500-ish, kind of hovering in that middle, he was the reason we won a lot of those games early. And if he hadn't taken the step that he has, we would have lost a lot on those front end and put ourselves in a much bigger hole to dig ourselves out of. So, and then defensively, he legitimately is a defensive player of the year candidate. Obviously, he's not going to win it. But the fact that he has put his name in that conversation in year 3, playing in Phoenix, being the type of player he is, which is not the Patrick Beverley slap the floor or Gobert where it's, wow, you are a force. He's just so good. So yeah, I think he is played out of his mind, but I will also transition that to probably a really obvious pick for most improved player. And for me that it's Bridges. There's a lot of players, this is nuts. And I've thought about this a lot when talking about the bright future Suns that Kevin O'Connor would talk about a lot on The Ringer. One of the things that got reiterated was they're putting a lot of time and effort into these young players. Typically, let's just say you've got 4 or 5 young guys. You're lucky if 1 or 2 of them make that jump in year 2, year 3, year 4. The fact that they have this young core that is all improving together on both sides of the ball is just so, I'm not going to call it lucky. I feel like that's not fair to the work they're putting in or the coaching. But the fact that Bridges has had the step up he has, Cam Johnson's had the step up he has, Booker is still getting better. I think it's easy to forget that he's like 18, you know what I mean? Like, obviously not 18, but I mean, he's a kid still. Just because he has that veteran presence, it's still hard. Like, he's not at his prime. I don't think he's close, honestly. So it's just so impressive that so much has gone right in terms of that development and that growth. But Bridges, in my opinion, is so impressive because offensively he has taken that leap. I don't know if it's just confidence alone, but defensively he's still getting better, which is nuts. And I went back and was watching some of the games in the bubble when he was matched up on other players' best player. And when it's man on man, like they call him the warden, they throw him in jail, like clamps every time. But what I've noticed this season is he's even better in help defense, when to rotate. He's communicating more, which I don't know the guy. He doesn't seem to be the voice, but he's just always in the right place. And you see that with the deflection totals and the steal totals and the disrupted passes and the way he's hedging on some of those screens and just preventing other teams' offense from going into motion. It's just been incredible. And the fact that, I mean, goodness, I feel bad for flaming Zaire Smith, but the fact that you were able to get that for that, I mean, I think it was the Heat pick or the Bucks pick, and Zaire Smith to get up to 10 at Mikal Bridges, and Bridges has just been an absolute monster. So sorry for my rant. We could do a whole episode on Bridges and I could fill an hour because I love him that much. But Ryan, most improved. If I already hit all of it, I apologize. You can hedge and go with number 2 or 3 as well if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, you hit on it. Like, Bridges' offensive game has improved so much, and it was so unexpected, really. To me, that's been great. And I think that's the only right answer. I think there are other guys who are doing well. I think Cam Johnson is an example of that. Honestly, Frank Kaminsky, after the start that he had to the season, leaving us, coming back to us, minutes that he's played,
literally got fired. It's great. He got fired from the Kings.
I think there's
done what he's done.
I think there's an argument for Frank. I think there's an argument for DA on his best nights, but I think night in, night out, it's Bridges.
The DA comment got a stank face from me.
I said on his best nights, like on his bad nights, he is bad, but on his best nights, he is very good.
Goodness. Can you imagine if DA played a whole season of his slightly above average games? I mean, legitimately.
I think we need to extend the same grace to him that you extended to Devin, and that DA is very much a child. The issue is he's also a child mentally a lot of the times. And he just has that maturity that has to come along that just isn't there yet.
All right, Philip, hit us with most improved, and then you can run us into sixth man of the year as well.
It's Mikal, and I don't think there's much of a debate. So if you go back to his rookie year, his true shooting percentage is already 10 points better than it was his rookie year. He's right up at 66%, which if you do a Basketball Reference glossary of what is a good true shooting percentage, is an adjustment for the amount of free throws you're taking and 3-pointers versus 2-pointers. A 500 is average. 550 is very good. Anything over 600 is exceptional. And he is at 66 right now. So he is an exceptional shooter this year. He's an exceptionally efficient shooter this year. And that efficiency added with really good defense has been the key to why he's had such an impressive season so far.
All right, and your sixth man of the year for the Suns.
I mean, is there a question? It's got to be Dario.
Yeah, I was going to
say
that's unless Ryan just wants a campaign speech, like Dario's been amazing.
I mean, Dario would be my answer, but I think on technicality, based off the recent starter, Jay Crowder could also have an argument.
Dario, since February 1st, Dario's net rating is 27.
He literally has 27.
Dario has been incredible, and I think he's the only right answer as well.
Yeah. Well, as we kind of bring this one to a close, it's easy to kind of look internally at the Suns and play with the awards here. And Dario, honestly, is a good segue to this as well. Do we see the Suns at the end of the season pulling home any national awards? And we can take this one back outside of just players. But if you had to pick one award, a national award that you think the Phoenix Suns are going to end up winning, and do not say NBA champ or Western Conference champs because that's just going to jinx it. Who do you think that would be, Ryan?
I think if we're playing the odds, it's James Jones for executive. I think Monty might lose to somebody like Quinn Snyder in Utah or somebody else. I think James Jones has the best shot of a national recognition award for the work he did putting this team together.
Yeah, and if you want to counter that with anything, you might say that if Brooklyn goes on a tear in the second half and they wind up being first, then Monty might have the best shot because Monty's just likable. He's a likable dude, and Quinn Snyder just looks angry over there patrolling the sidelines. So it's a toss-up, and both of them are worthy of recognition for their contributions this season. If I had to put money on it, I would probably say I'd probably go with Monty.
Yeah, what Ryan said literally is exactly what I was thinking. I think the Quinn Snyder argument's interesting because it's a great example of he literally has the same pieces and something different is happening. Don't know how much that's the coach, how much that's the player. The James Jones thing, in my opinion, is so impressive. In I guess contrast to the situation with the Nets, only because where you started to where you ended up. The Nets might not have been a contender, but they still had a good group and a young core that would have consistently gotten them to the playoffs in the East. Obviously, they sacrificed a good bit of that to reconstruct them into the manner they are now. But yeah, I think if we're going to get anything, it'll be either coach or exec. Definitely no one for MVP. I think Bridges for most improved. He might get a vote or two from those people that just absolutely adore good defense. But there's so many other players.
There's a man balling in New York who's going to have something to say to that.
That's
Julius
true.
Randle
That's
is unreal right now.
Can we just give a shout out to the Knicks, who are probably, at least the Knicks fans, who are probably experiencing something this year that we're also experiencing?
I'm sorry, my team's not one game above 500. What are you talking about?
In the East, that's basically a title, man. Like they are getting to have fun watching basketball for the first time in New York, similar to us as Suns fans. So props to you if you're listening and you're somehow, for some reason, a Knicks fan.
I titled this episode "Solid."
How did you get here?
Solidarity with the Knicks.
Goodness. Well, yeah, I honestly think Bridges maybe will get a few votes. Sarge might get some 6-man votes depending on how the season.
Votes?
Nah, I don't think so. Only because I don't think he started at a low enough point to get up, because he's still playing a very similar way. He's just being utilized better. I mean, if you think back to last season, he was having some starter minutes where he didn't need to be. And I think part of it's just understanding your team, understanding how to put things together, and having him be this facilitating big in the second unit is wonderful. And again, I think that props to Monty from coaching him up and how they're doing the X's and O's, and props to James Jones for building a team that best utilizes the talent you have. So, man, I really do. I almost, this is so mean, I almost asked about the Suns Rookie of the Year, because if we're being honest, Sticks isn't even that. It would be, who is it? The Creighton guard, Tyshawn Alexander, maybe is his name. I don't remember. Who's playing in the G League and just dropped 30 a night or two ago. And I was like, well, he's probably doing more for his current stock than old Sticks is. But hey, we'll give him some time. That's the luxury of being a team that's actually winning. You're not as concerned.
Our Rookie of the Year is Halliburton.
Oh man,
that's cruel.
That one stung. Yeah. Well, listen, gentlemen, I'm excited to get some Suns basketball back. Usually All-Star Weekend's super exciting because it's like, oh, I can take a break from watching these losses and watch something exciting. And this year, I'm just ready to have the Suns basketball back and see how the rest of this year plays out. But guys, I'm already, this is bad. I'm not going to jinx it. I'm already getting excited about checking the standings and seeing where the playoffs are looking. And I don't know, I'm pumped. I can't wait to watch playoff basketball, knock on granite, whatever I'm sitting at. Hopefully we see some Phoenix Suns basketball in the playoffs. But guys, any last thoughts as we wrap up this midseason episode?
How far we've come. What a ride it's been so far. We're only halfway there, baby.
And as Ryan looks behind, I'll look ahead. Some good games on the docket for this week before we talk to you guys next Thursday. I have a game against Portland, so hopefully it's book time instead of Dame time. Saturday will be fun. Indiana Pacers against the Suns. That'll be a good time. And then Monday, as we recorded right before we recorded, got the Grizzlies on docket again. So 2 really good games, and then a third interesting game when you got Ja Morant waiting in the wings.
All right. Well, as I said, I am Ethan Shutt, joined with Philip and Ryan. Thank you for listening, whether it's YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever. We appreciate you. Feel free to tweet us on Twitter, hop in the comment section, let us know where you're listening from. But from the guys, I am Ethan Shutt. This has been the Valley, a Phoenix Suns podcast.
We out.